All right, I had a lot of you guys disagree with me about my stance on the inverted spear of heaven not being able to stop Sukuna's World Cutting Slash. And specifically, Anwar sent in and wanted me to readdress this, so let's talk about it. And Anwar says, as most people were making in an argument against me, that the inverted spear of heaven cancels out or negates jujutsu. The World Cutting Slash is made with jujutsu, thus it cancels out. And, you know, at the end of the day, we don't have like a hard canonical answer here, so we can just agree to disagree, but I still do disagree. So let me break down why. To illustrate this, let's again go over what happens with the World Cutting Slash. And I've gotten so much use out of these drawings that I made almost 2 years ago, but let's imagine that Jujutsu Kaisen exists in 2 dimensions, right? On a piece of paper, okay? There we have 2-dimensional Gojo. So everything that exists within Jujutsu Kaisen exists in those 2 dimensions. Here we have a representation of Gojo's infinity, the thing that's going to protect him from all harm. As you can see here, Sukuna, who also exists in 2 dimensions, is flinging his slashes, which also exist in 2 dimensions, at Gojo, who exists in 2 dimensions. But because his infinity, which exists within those 2 dimensions, is also present, the slashes cannot get to him. So what Sukuna sought was a solution to the infinity, right? He needed a way to get past that and actually damage Gojo. And this is what he looked to Maharaga for. And he tells us that the first adaptation Maharaga did, changing the essence of his cursed energy, that's not something I could copy. But the second one, his ability to expand the target to existence itself, that is something I can copy. Now, what does that mean? Cutting existence itself, space, the entire world. Well, it means that Sukuna, instead of trying to cut Gojo within the 2 dimensions as they exist, instead just cut the dimension itself. He ripped the paper. Sukuna's issue here is that his slashes were interacting with Gojo's infinity and thus unable to bypass it, right? And his adaptation from Maharaga didn't just grant his slashes the properties of Jujutsu negation. That's not the path he took. Again, the path he took was just cutting from a higher dimension, meaning his slashes don't interact with the infinity at all. Now, granted, this is insane, but this is Sukuna we're talking about. This is the single most impressive use of Jujutsu in the series. He says it was a near impossible technique to pull off. So what I'm saying is that the very same way Gojo's infinity had no opportunity to interact with the World Cutting Slash, so too would the inverted spear of heaven have no opportunity to interact with the World Cutting Slash. It would be the same as if saying, like, if Gojo's red had come from behind Toji in this moment, that the inverted spear would block it. No, it wouldn't, because it needs to be positioned in such a way that it can interact with the jujutsu it's trying to block. The World Cutting Slash gives no opportunity to do so.